So what do you think about all the masks and plagues?
Yeah, you're not wearing a mask, sir, and it's making us feel unsafe.
Oh, I am.
I wear a mask of human skin.
I already know that the next time I do one of these podcasts, like in person, like Tim Pool or something like that, I already want to go there in a hazmat suit.
Oh man, that'd be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
Or like that stuff from, I think it was Aliens, where they had the one where there's like the light inside of it.
Yeah.
And they're breathing like Darth Vader. Like, it's really, I want to figure out how much one of those costs. I think this max stuff is nonsensical at this point. Especially for young people. I think it's like AIDS. If you know you're part of a population that is especially vulnerable, it is your responsibility to take precautions, because you have to assume the other people aren't. Mm-hmm. And you can't expect everyone. You're playing Russian roulette with your own life. And I think people who are at risk know this. I think I'm very tired a couple weeks ago. I'm in Brooklyn, and I was talking to my friends, and I said, maybe I have it. It just clicked. Maybe I have COVID. Fatigue is one of those symptoms. And my friend goes, it's not possible. We haven't had it in like 2 months in New York. I'm like, okay, whatever. We're talking about. And I look, New York has like 100 cases a day and like no deaths for 2 months. So the fact that de Blasio is still having the city in many ways on lockdown is unconscionable. And it is harder and harder for my anarchist. What's that?
100 cases a day in New York? That's like nothing.
I think it's like 100. I know. New York City. And it's harder and harder for my anarchist brain to empathize with people who see political action as anything other than pure criminality.
What do you think?
Because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the mom and pop businesses are the first ones to get hurt. Yeah. The immigrants are the first ones to get hurt. You come to this country, you have a little restaurant, dry cleaner, fruit stand, whatever it is. And you don't have 6 months to sit on your butt and not get revenue. It's horrible.
What do you think is the motivation? Like the idea that if the government is overplaying its hand, you get kind of accused of being a conspiracy theorist or being anti-government if you're like, oh, they're just telling us it's all for our own protection. But what is the ulterior motivation, in your point of view, if they're actually being corrupt in this?
I think it's not that they're corrupt. I think they're responding to incentives. And there's a huge incentive for them to overreact, because if there's any deaths, it's going to be blamed on them. Mm-hmm. So let's try to shut down all economic activity. It's a lot easier to hand wave away a depression than it is to hand away mass death. Right. So let's completely err on the absurd side of caution. And then we can say with a straight face, we did everything we needed to do to fight this pandemic and never have to worry about the consequences. I also tweeted this out not long ago, and it's very disturbing for me to say this, but I predict it's going to be like 2023 or 2024 when we all start to have the conversation about what consequences these politicians have to have personally and what that would entail. Because until people face personal consequences for their choices, they will absolutely continue to do the same thing. And why wouldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no situation where they pay a price for if they over whatever.
Well,
that word is.
I mean, it's a total difference.
Overreach.
It's just a difference in ideology, in that a lot of these politicians, they just feel like they have to do something. You see this with the gun control debate, where there's a school shooting and they're just like, ban, and then they just like throw a dart at a board. Ban, barrel shroud, the shoulder thing that goes up, or whatever. So,
well, it's not even that. I mean, I don't know if some people are old enough to remember, after Timothy McVeigh blew up Oklahoma City, the building there, they started talking about gun control. There were no guns used. He used fertilizer. It was a bomb. So having an agenda means you have the same
control.
Yeah, having an agenda means you have the same conclusion regardless of the data that's coming in. And the conclusion always is, we want your guns. Well, the best argument against gun control is gun proliferation, which is thankfully happening at a very high rate in this country.
Well, I, for one, look forward to the future when we just have Walmart and Amazon. And all the small businesses are gone. I don't have to.
And you have
no
to be
choice. I don't have to
be in
think.
one of their militaries.
And there's mandatory conscription into the Walmart army when you're turn 18.
I love this. The anarchist utopia. See, you dummies, you want to choose between Democrats and Republicans. A free society is choosing between Amazon and Walmart.
I think Kyle's he's an anarchist, kind of.
I'm close.
He's pretty close. I just don't think that deeply. I'm scared to go there. So what about this? I actually haven't seen this, but I guess Paul Rudd did like a public service announcement about wanting you to wear a mask. He's dressed as a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Did you think that was good? Was that good for our money to be going towards that kind of government ad?
I think it's very smart on their part because it works in two ways. One is this isn't disturbing. This is someone who Paul Rudd is universally liked. There's this meme about how he doesn't age, which is true. He ages very well. So they're playing on that, and it's like, oh, it's silly. But it's also useful because instead of the criticism of the ad being this is creeping totalitarianism and disturbing, you look at it and you roll your eyes and you think, oh, it's cringe. So if they look at it in that regard, you don't realize, wait a minute, let me take a second back. I've got my negative reaction. But then you think about it and go, oh, this is much worse than cringe. This is really almost Soviet, where they rope in these popular figures and use them to promote their propaganda. And I mean that quite literally.
Yeah, it feels like progressives always kind of see themselves as like these rebels, or we're the subculture, we're going to go take back the power. And it's like, well, you guys own Hollywood and the government institutions and all the major corporations. I logged onto Facebook and it's like, click over here and see what you can do to help fight climate change. Just a big message on my screen.
Have you ever tried to Google the conservative view on a thing? It's practically impossible. Like, I'll try to look up a news story and just try to get the other side.
It'll just give you the criticism of it.
It keeps bringing it back to the left-leaning. It's really hard to find.
I did a piece in one of my shows. There was a bill passed in South Carolina, Louisiana. There was a pro-life bill. And, the pro-choice people were up in arms. And they had a quote from the woman running maybe the local Planned Parenthood or whatever, Parents for Choice, whatever it was. And she said why this bill was wrong. There was never a quote from the pro-life person. Like, if this bill passed, I want to know what is the reason for it? Like, what is the other perspective? And there wasn't even a pretense of having it there. Which I'm sure is not new for you guys to understand, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, as I always say, the depravity and malfeasance of the corporate press is without cessation.
Amen, brother. Your lips.
Don't we all?
Copyright 2020. Babylon Bee.
What do you think of...
I signed a rider. Everything I say in here becomes your property now. Darn it. I got stung by the bee again.